Hello, I'm Christina, owner of The Turned Leg. I love to salvage, repurpose, and create and help others to do the same. Today, I'm also part of a creative collaboration with Jamie Ray Vintage and a whole bunch of other very creative people. So make sure at the end of the video to click on the playlist to watch all of their great videos. The theme for this collaboration is summer, but I'm right outside Detroit, Michigan. It's early April and it feels almost like winter. So I'm not going to be working in my yard today because this is what my yard looks like right now. That empty space in there is where our swimming pool will get set up, but right now it is cold. There are a few hints of spring. Last spring, I was determined to transform my garden into a junk garden. For more information on my junk garden videos, you can click on the link above. This is just one example of one of the projects that I completed, and that was taking an old wheelbarrow and planting it in my yard. This is what the wheelbarrow looks like now. Now I'm turning my attention to the area of my deck, and more specifically that ugly area that has all of the meters on it. I want to cover that up and make the space more usable. The plan is to make a potting bench out of pallets and some found objects. You can work on this project even when the weather is not really summery, so when summer comes around, you'll be totally ready to use it. I'm also going to be adding a whole bunch of turned leg style to this piece with a bunch of salvage. Let's get started. The space is not pretty, but you cannot cover these items up. They need to be accessed. So I thought putting a potting bench that could also double as outdoor cooking space would be a really good idea. Our cat Sage was anxious for us to get started. For this project, you're going to need a pallet, and not all pallets are created equal. I was very lucky to be given this pallet by a friend, and it is in excellent shape. It also does not have any gaps in the wood. Another thing you want to look for when choosing your pallet is you want to look for the two letters HT. That means the pallet has been heat treated and is safe to use. I was also extremely lucky to find this old garden gate as a curbside treasure. And I am using some of my scrap wood from my garage to complete the project, and a little bit of salvage that you'll see later on. I am also using my DeWalt jigsaw and my DeWalt cordless drill. The first step is to cut your pallet in half, and you want to create a top area and the bottom shelf for your potting bench. It is a really good idea to find wherever there's a break in the boards to separate them easily. The next step is to make the legs, and I wanted this to be counter height, so that is 36 inches long. So the two front legs I cut with my compound miter saw at 36 inches. I also sanded the edges just to get rid of the splinters. I am using 3-inch deck screws for this project, and it's a good idea to start your screws and put them into the legs about halfway and then drill them into your pallet the rest of the way. Are you enjoying the video? If so, click the like button and subscribe. Also, click the bell for notifications every time I upload a new video. It really helps me to continue to grow my channel to help others to salvage, repurpose, and create. The next step is to figure out how long the back legs need to be. Those boards are not only going to be 36 inches, but they're going to be 36 inches plus the height of the garden gate. The garden gate is going to be the back of my potting bench, and it is also going to hide all of the ugly meters on the back of my deck. Now that I had all 4 legs attached to my potting bench, I realized it was not extremely sturdy, and I decided that I would add 2 boards to the front of the pallet and reattach the front legs underneath. I also decided to change the direction of the legs so I could secure them even tighter. For the next step, I got a little help. I had to mount the garden gate to the back of the potting bench. I used a scrap board to help hold it all into place. Oh, and did I mention my daughter and I were also working under a wind advisory in Michigan, and there were winds up to 50 miles an hour while we were building. We're waiting for the winds. Perfect conditions to build in. We had to get the potting bench secured, so the next step was to measure for the support braces between the legs. We measured to make sure they were level and cut the boards and screwed them into place. The next big issue was the bottom shelf for our potting stand, and it was made from the remnants of the pallet. Now, depending on what kind of pallet you have, you will have to figure out the best way to attach this. We had to try a few different methods until finally my daughter came up with the best solution. First day of build is done, and it's obviously structurally sound because it's still standing. We have a wind advisory and 50-mile-an-hour winds right now. Fun. We'll continue with the build when the wind calms down. On day 2, it was very important for me to bring some character to this new pallet wood. I love to use Dark Decrepit as a water-based stain. For more information on how to use this as a stain, you can click on a link to the video above. While I was waiting for the stain to dry, I headed to my booth at Plaza Antiques and Collectibles Mall in Lincoln Park, Michigan. I have a whole bunch of really cool salvage in my booth for sale, and I knew some items would be absolutely perfect. I also came across this cute little hand pump. I brought home a whole bunch of salvage, but I really liked these flat fence posts because they'd be very easy to attach, and I liked the way they looked. So I secured them to the boards with my deck screws. I also added some to the top. I really did not like how the bottom shelf was open, but I had the perfect piece of salvage for that and screwed it in place. I also had this beautiful piece of trim in my stash of cool stuff, and I knew it would be great on the front. I probably should have removed the original hardware of the gate before I put it into place, but I wasn't sure if I was going to leave it or not. But once I got it in place, I decided it had to go. I removed it and put in some spackle compound so it would be ready for paint. Once the spackle was dry, it was time to paint the project. For this project, I am using Sweet Pickins Milk Paint in Creamy. For more information on how to use milk paint, you can click on the link to the video above. I plan on heavily distressing this potting bench, so the milk paint just needs to cover with like a sloppy first coat. Some areas I even just dry brushed. I'm not looking for full coverage. Once the paint had dried, it was time to sand. I am using my orbital sander and 220 grit sandpaper. And this is why we use milk paint. Look at all that great crackle. So, milk paint, unpredictable. I painted over an exterior paint. I think it was too shiny, and it just completely flakes off. So I think we will probably leave the gate yellow for now because that's a hot mess. If any of the paint stays, I'll leave it, but I don't think it's going to. Milk paint, unpredictable. Of course, you could use Extra Bond to prevent this, but I didn't, so my paint is flying away. Yeah, okay. Once the sanding was complete, I removed all the dust and all of the loose paint, and it was time to seal. For this project, I'm using an exterior sealer, Kills exterior sealer, and I am going to be applying it with a roller. I have used this product in the past, and it has worked quite well for me. Every potting bench has a shelf, and I wanted one for mine, but I wanted it also to be made out of cool salvage. For the shelf, I am using an old shutter and 2 of my JRV farmhouse corbels. I sell these in my booth, unfinished. You can add them to your own projects. Off camera, I did prime these corbels with an exterior spray sealer I had. But the process that I'm going to use is very similar to how I did the potting bench. I'm putting down a coat of dark and decrepit DIY liquid patina, and then I'm going to be covering them in milk paint and distressing them back. The shutter does not need the dark and decrepit, so it will just get milk paint. Once the milk paint has dried on the shutter, look at all the chippy goodness. The shutters and the corbels were sanded and sealed with the exterior sealer. Work had to be delayed because the weather took a change. There's a saying in Michigan, if you don't like the weather, just wait, it'll change. And change it did. We got a couple inches of snow. After the snow had melted, it was time to get this project completed. First step was to attach the shelf to the top, and my daughter helped me. Next, we added a towel bar that I had salvaged from the side of the road. Whew, the project is complete. Although I did have to battle high wind warnings and snow, the project is done and just in time for spring and summer and time to be enjoyed with my family. This will be not only a great potting bench, but it'll also be a great extra outdoor kitchen area too. Now, I did make an executive decision not to use the hand pump that I had purchased, at least not yet, although I'm sure I can find somewhere in my garden to put it. Let's take a look at the completed project. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video has inspired you and made you realize that there's a lot of easy projects you can do around your house to get ready for summer that don't cost a lot of money. Don't forget to click on the link to the playlist below and watch all the other great videos. Now get out there to salvage, repurpose, and create.